What's up, people? It's your girl Karina. Welcome back to the channel. Okay, I know I'm crazy. We have been having winter weather here. It has been stay-home mom season. So I just jumped on, and in fact, I might have to jump off when the baby is done hanging out with the fam out in the snow. So, letting you guys know that this may be an impromptu end, okay? But I really wanted to talk to you today about the attachment styles of the zodiac signs. And why do I think this is really important? So let's start from the beginning, okay? We all have this thing about how we love that is kind of natured and conditioned by us from our caregivers, right, or our parents, and whoever brought us up in life, even your teachers and your friendships. They all impact how you relate and attach to relationships, which are romantic or of a friendship nature, right? And you can find that some are more clingier than others, some are more detached than others. And so I wanted to bring this up as a great topic because um astrology allows for us to be able to sync in how we are harmonizing and how we are compatible with other people, right? And I think that astrology doesn't have a limitation, but sometimes we just need psychology to help support the ideas behind astrology. So today I'm bringing you guys a psychological breakdown of attachment styles. And this is where I learned from on a YouTube channel called the Personal Development School. I will link down in the description after this is done the link to that if you haven't heard of it before, because it's a way larger channel than mine and has already a lot of momentum and a lot of content on there. But um, her name is Thais Gibson, and she talks about the attachment styles. Okay, some of the main attachment styles or titles that you can be a part of would be a dismissive avoidant, a fearful avoidant, a preoccupied anxious person. Okay, so these can be some really intense breakdowns when it comes to attachment styles, but I'm going to simplify them today. And we're going to look at how these styles may coexist with astrology. We're going to look at the attachment styles of the zodiac signs and where they may fall when it comes to these three categories. So let's talk about the first category, which is the dismissive avoidant. Okay. And this is somebody who learned how to self soothe early in life, maybe was put in places where they had to be on their own a lot, or just didn't lack the ability for somebody to help them work through certain things. So they become very able in adult life to create their own world, be in their own world, and not necessarily need to be as connected or intimate with other people on that level all the time. Okay. So this is somebody who is kind of avoidant, and they can be dismissive. They could be the type of person that doesn't need you and is less clingy and is more detached. Okay. All right. So we're going to look at dismissive, detached types of attachments in the zodiac. Now, another one that I'm actually going to combine together, but I'm really just going to focus on it in a very simplistic way, which is somebody who might actually be more clingy. All right. And this is somebody who's preoccupied. They would call this anxious preoccupied. And this is someone who, in their caregiver's experience, was actually given a lot of like attention, but then also it was taken away. So they have this inconsistency about how important they are, because when they were younger and they were developing, sometimes they got a lot of attention and sometimes they had a lot of dry spells or a lot of commitment issues with the caregivers wanting to stay consistent, committed to their consistency. So this becomes somebody who actually can be more clingy. Okay. So we're going to go by these. The other one is the fearful avoidant. And they could probably branch over in between the two. But what I want to do is talk about basically when you're dismissive, detached versus when you're clingy, and how that shows up in the zodiac signs, so that we can understand that once we assign these roles to the zodiac signs, it's not a chance for us to now go and exploit them and tell them how wrong they are for being detached, or tell them how wrong they are for being too clingy. No, this is actually just a catalyst to help actually propel you and maybe even inspire you to look deeper into the psychology of your attachment style. And you can use your birth chart to actually determine which one you might actually be, but you could also just determine how you have been in relationships and pick up on those things. And I would highly recommend for you to check out the Personal Development School on YouTube and look into the three different styles and take their tests and determine for yourself. So I just want this to be a gateway um, to introduce people to this if they haven't known it. The other thing is that I'm creating a heart work series. So I know you guys are familiar with shadow work, but if you haven't noticed, I'm actually focused more on heart work, which I believe is like the second step after shadow work. Okay. And I think that a lot of these attachment styles in this conversation I will be bringing to those videos. The video that I've been working on the most and a lot is the jealousy video, which you guys will see roll out sometime in the next few days. Okay, so let's go through the zodiac signs and let's just for fun, and please give me your input too of what you think your zodiac sign attachment style is. And we'll talk briefly about why that is. So let's start with Aries, okay? Now, Aries, I feel, will exhibit a more detached, dismissive style. And some people might disagree with me on that, and you're welcome to do so because there is no real science or facts that we've had this with. So we just have to decide, okay? But the reason that I say that is not because of the natural personality of the Mars energy in Aries, which actually makes Aries actually want to passionately go towards somebody, but it's actually the fact that when you look at the layout for Aries, their leadership energy is very Saturnian, with Capricorn being in their 10th house. And so they want to lead in everything they do, specifically in relationships. And Capricorn is definitely one of the more dismissive energies because it's very like, Aries wants to come close to you, there's a level of not necessarily wanting to be so deep. Keeping things not superficial, but not so intensely deep either, right? When Aries is in love, being a leader, they want to experience the excitement of life while being a leader. This is why they can tend to be more dismissive types of detached um, lovers and relationships. The other thing about the dismissive type, which they like Pisces, but they're very much in that world. So they're sometimes unable to do what their opposite sign does, which is Libra, which is going to see your needs, invest in your needs, and think about you, right? So Aries is not going to do that naturally, which leads them to be even more dismissive, detached, based off of the fact that they're really just focused on self and have the probably the most capability to self-soothe. And when it comes to Aries and the dismissive detachment, which I'll mention to you guys a few more times, is that self-soothing is very important. It's an important element to experience and have in your development phase. You'll see that the lack of self-soothing is what leads you to the clingy attachment style. So it's really important to be able to self-soothe. But the dismissive detachment will self-soothe in ways that can be harmful to themselves and harmful to those that they love and care about. So that's something to think about. Okay, moving on to Taurus. Taurus would probably land more in the preoccupied, anxious. Okay, and this is because Taurus will have more of a tendency to be clingy in love. This is because Taurus has a loyalty factor that's deeply rooted in their makeup, and also Tauruses are more of the ones who are willing to stick things out for a long period of time, which can show their clinginess or their need to invest and want to be for others, about others. And so their attachment style is typically more that. What that means is that if they land in the fearful avoidant attachment style or the clingy preoccupied attachment style, that they may have not had as much time to learn how to be in their own self-soothing placement. Melissa, hi. So she says, is this our rising or sun sign? I think that you should determine it for yourself because it's not an actual science in combining astrology with attachment styles. So if you are a sun in Taurus, but you have a dominant amount of planets in Aries, which I do, then you might be a great combination of both. And you might see that both show up at different times. Like you might choose to be clingy, and then when somebody criticizes you or pushes you away, then you might choose to be more dismissive. So you also don't fall into just one, especially because you are all of the signs and all of the planets. But which ones are you the most dominant in is probably going to speak more to what you tend to do. So definitely consider your rising, consider your sun, because we're also thinking about relationships. Consider your Venus as well, consider your moon sign as well. Okay, so moving on to Gemini. Now, Gemini is going to, I feel, because this is not an exact science, that Geminis actually have a clinginess to them, in the sense that because they have the mercurial investigative energy, that they are the ones who are going to be more interested in looking up and investing into other things, other topics, and when it comes to relationship, other people. So Geminis are the ones that are going to research. And so they can not want to be clingy, but find themselves in a clingy situation because I actually posted this yesterday. A dismissive person is not going to attract another dismissive person. I mean, maybe they might have physical attraction to each other, but I'm talking about when you guys actually really come together and maintain a relationship for even just longer than a month. A dismissive person is not going to attract a dismissive person, because just look at what I just said. A dismissive person attracting a dismissive person, it doesn't it I feel like it's just not going to work. What somebody's going to cut it off, and the other person is going to be like, yeah, it's cut off. Okay, so Geminis move and they adapt, but they are the ones who might be the one that attracts the dismissive person. Okay, that's because Geminis have a lot of things going on, right? And they're very invested, but they're not clingy to the place where they stick it out like Taurus does, but they have this need to invest in someone else because they have the research and the curiosity to do it, right? So it comes from a different place than a Taurus would, where Taurus wants to improve their relationships. Gemini just wants to have more information, but that leads them to probably be more in the preoccupied, clingy arena because they're going to attract people who allow them to investigate them. So Geminis can be the ones that attract dismissive types of people, right? So they couldn't be dismissive if they were the ones to attract that. I hope you guys get that, what I'm saying. But also, like, I know I'm here speaking and I like to speak and I like to talk about what I think. But in a conversation like this is not a Karina says all thing. I'm not ever trying to do that. I really want you guys to contribute to the conversation. If you disagree, then tell me why, because let's actually create this for ourselves and understanding the attachment styles when we integrate it with the zodiac. Now, Cancer is going to be the ones that are atypical, clingy, preoccupied attachment styles. That's because a lot of Cancers are given the chance to be very nurtured in life. A lot of the time, Cancers can, even if they were in a bad situation, will have certain people or caregivers that want to really out extend themselves to make sure that they repair what they had or help them fix what they had. So Cancer will get some sort of real strong attachment from a parent or a caregiver early in life. But then that also comes with the inconsistency. And so Cancers are going to be the ones that really, really need to cling to their partners. And this is in friendships and love, relationships all together. Okay. Now, moving into Leo, I think that Leo can actually be one of the more hidden, dismissive types of attachment styles. Because Leo is the sun, it seems like the sun is willing to give. And Leo is extremely willing to give in a very loving and healthy, secure relationship. But if the sun becomes insecure, if the sun is not getting adored the way that it wants to, I think that it's an authority energy. And when we find authority energies in the zodiac, they're going to tend to be more dismissive. That's why I made Aries dismissive in my analysis, because authority energies don't have the time and operate from this aura of being above it or just being beyond it or just ready to control or or handle something else. So with going with Leo, it's actually a very sensitive zodiac sign. And I think that if Leo was to be too clingy, even though they're fixed, they're not very clingy. And I think that if they were clingy, they would be very uncomfortable in their natural light giving abilities. So, in order for Leo to stay fire, in order for Leo to stay in its king like state, it has to choose dismissive. So I feel like Leos are going to be more of the tendency to be dismissive. Okay. I think that they want to be really connected, but a lot of this is because they want people to lift them and support them up. Now, this is something that you'll find when you learn about the attachment styles, that the clingy types are the ones that actually need more of the support. So now that I'm saying that, Leo probably sits right in the middle there because Leo does want support, adoration, and people to hold them up. But at the same time, they're not going to hold on too long or too tight, even though they're a fixed sign. That's probably because of the fire within them. Okay. Now, Virgos are definitely going to be interesting ones to analyze because Virgos are not necessarily clingy emotionally, but they can be clingy intellectually and mentally. Okay. They are a sign of adaptation, but because of their earth practicality, they naturally are, you know, trying to be loyal and be stable. Okay. The need for loyalty and stable is what makes Virgo more of the preoccupied. Also, preoccupieds tend to keep themselves busy in order to ignore their need and clinginess for their relationships. You'll find that Virgos really need relationships. Why? Because relationships bring them value. And you'll find that Virgos are very critical in their relationships, which makes them feel like they're dismissive, but they actually criticize to bring you closer to them. It's just something that they're not really good at finessing sometimes. You know what I'm saying? Because people don't like all of that criticism. But really, when a Virgo is criticizing you, they're they're bringing you more into their world. So that becomes more of this embodying of support me for criticizing you because I'm trying to make you better. I'm trying, don't you want to be better? Isn't that why you came to be with me? Right? So the Virgo needs you to support them in wanting to omit their intellectual side into you and help you to become better. And this is where we also say that Venus and Virgo is not the happiest place because relationships don't necessarily tend to operate from that paradigm. But if you have the information, you are Virgo, or if you have a Virgo in your life, you may really know that. I feel like a Virgo is really trying to get closer to you when they connect to you on that intellectual discernment type. Okay. Now, Libras are going to be also similar to Cancer in naturally preoccupied, naturally clingy, even though they're an air sign. Okay. And that's because Libra is ruled by Venus and they want to love, they want to give love. Okay. They may appear to be flaky and they may appear to have a lot of relationships or a lot of love to give. Quite often, that's because Libra will be one of the signs that naturally attracts a dismissive person. And because they do, right, because they just go too far, similar to Scorpio, Libra handles that by finding other relationships. So I can go to you for these reasons, I can go to you for these reasons. So they have that clinginess, but it's just the clinginess is coming more from their need of connection and support. They're more clingy to that need of connection than the actual person and needing to hold them and control them. I don't feel like Libras naturally want to control people, but they find that those power urges come out of them, and when they do, they shift into other relationships. This is what you find with clingy attachments, is that clingy attachments have real problems with being on their own. Okay. And you're going to find the dismissive attachments can tend to be more on their own because they learned how to do that early through some sort of painful experience. But the clingy types never really learned how to hone in on their own personal space and experience. So, this is why Libra is a perfect example to me of a more clingy type, just not your atypical definition of what somebody being clingy would look like, right? So, it is expressed differently through the signs. Now, Scorpio also very tendency to me to ride on the wave of both. I think that Scorpio's intensity feels very clingy, but so I think that they're more heavier on the preoccupied clingy, but the way that they do it is a lot different. It's strong and power urges. It's deeply needing to feel you, to come and connect with you, but they can also be dismissive because of their own power struggles, right? To come close to you. So you can be completely embodied, right? And embedded into a Scorpio, but it's only by maybe their standards of what they want you to be. Very similar to like Virgo and stuff like that. Like, so it's coming close, but it's really about how I want to see you be. So the clingy side for Scorpio is very deeply related to their need to go deep into a psychology of their partner, which opens them up more than dismisses them. That's why I say like it's about how you interact. And do you want to open or do you want to close in? And so with Scorpios, you're going to see they're going to want to open. It's once they decide that you are worth that time to do that, of course. Okay. So we are about to have a little bit of an interruption, guys. I hope you guys like this topic. I really am loving it. Um Sorry, I'm just trying to see how much time I have. Let's keep going and we'll see what happens because I do want to get through all the signs. Now, Sagittarius, I think Sagittarius is going to be a dismissive type. Well, Sagittarius's dismissiveness is very different than other types and how you might see dismissive because Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. And with Jupiterian signs like Sag and Pisces, we find that we want to be more jolly and more optimistic. So the dismissiveness is not coming from a place of like trying to hurt you or trying to keep you shut out. And I think that that can be very interesting and can be almost like something we don't always grasp about Sag. Their life escapism is embedded in how much fun they could have. And their dismissiveness is because they've created this world or this vision or this place where they want to go to, right? Because the dismissive is creating their own worlds through their act of self soothing. Okay. So Sag, they create that travel world, that world where they can explore the world, right? And it might actually be more rooted in realities and fantasy compared to Pisces, but it's still that same idea. And when they're dismissive, it's mainly because you're just being too dark, too intense, for Sag, and they just can't handle it. So that's why I think that Sag tend to be more of a dismissive attachment style. Okay. Now Capricorn is also going to be your dismissive attachment style, but in all of the ways that I said that Sag wouldn't be, okay, because Sag is doing it to escape and enjoy life and to have happiness. Capricorn is probably going to give you your atypical dismissiveness, which is like, don't say that, don't do it like this, don't be that way, do as I say. I don't want to hear that right now. Why do you have to go there? Right? It's very controlling in the Capricorn nature. And I don't want you guys to think like if you're a Capricorn that I don't like you. I love Capricorn energy. It's there for a reason. But I have to be honest that where Cancer would be your atypical, clingy, preoccupied because of how they're even just naturally raised, right? Capricorn is going to be they're the ones in childhood that where their caregivers put a lot of pressure on them to grow up very quickly, right? So whenever it's like I'm trying to handle something that's too much for me and it wasn't um nurtured in me or just somebody didn't walk it through with me, they create something so that because as children we children adapt to the world through learning how to do these things. So a child who goes through experience where they weren't ready for it, or they go through experience where they have to grow up fast or handle things on their own too early, they create self-soothing in a way very quickly. Okay. And I think that Capricorns are these types of people. Or Capricorns aren't people. Capricorn is a zodiac energy. People who have strong Capricorn are going to embody more dismissiveness. And they're going to be the atypical, in which when you say the word dismissive, I feel like it has a connotation of being mean, of being kind of like ruthless. And these are the things that you find with Capricorn placements is that you become a little bit more ruthless here, right? So if you have heavy Capricorn, you're going to be your atypical dismissive, which means that there's a lot of difficulty in getting you to open up and getting someone to have you be more, vulnerable and sensitive. This brings me to Aquarius, who is also, in my opinion, a dismissive attachment style. And I think that's actually really interesting. We're finding that the zodiac signs have couplets where they, you have two zodiac signs together consecutively that display a similar attachment style, because you're finding that some of them share the same planetary energy, like Capricorn and Aquarius, or they're just in the same season, so it embodies some sort of aura of that, right? It's not always that way, and again, there's no perfect science to this, but there's no perfect way that it's done either. Okay. Hi guys, welcome. She says that's my true husband is a Cancer. Yeah, and Cancer men are one of the most rare types of masculine energy to find, because while they have a shell and they may not open up to everyone, when you are penetrative into a Cancer male, you experience vulnerability and openness differently than anyone else that's not with Cancer male. So you have almost like a rare gift when you get to experience that, just because of societal norms as well. Okay, great. Thank you guys so much. So we're gonna have to come back and do a part 2, because the little one is in. And what did we end with? We ended with Aquarius. So I'll come back and talk about Aquarius and Pisces for you guys very soon. And I hope you liked it. I think you guys did like it. I've been having a lot of fun figuring it out. There's the hubby in the background.
So yo.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much. I'll see you back. I'll do a part 2 later today, and we'll finish off with Aquarius and Pisces. All right. Peace.
You want ice cream? How you say you cold when you want ice cream?